So this vlog is for my fellow mech warriors. I wanted to push this up as a foundation with regard to the various Battletech analysis, mech analysis, unit analysis, tank analysis podcasts that I've been pushing out, because this is kind of a new direction. Certainly I've been enjoying Battletech for a long time, but this is kind of a new direction that I'm taking my channel. In addition to Warhammer 40,000, we've got to get some more Wings of Glory. X-Wing Miniatures 2.0 is happening sooner rather than later, plus Judge Dredd Miniatures and other type of games that are out there. I'm starting to get into Gaslands, and this is kind of an interesting place to be, looking at toy cars and like going to Toys R Us to look at little Matchbox cars and figuring out which cars can I mount the most guns on there. But with all that, one of the themes that has existed in my channel, and this is really influenced by my Warhammer 40,000 play, is I believe let's come up with the tactics, let's play the best game that we can with the best tactics, but we should enjoy the models we want to play. We should focus on the narrative first. And certainly I don't want to come across as judging other players out there, but I'm taking time out of my life, real life. You're taking time out of your life. We're coming together to play a game. So there's a social contract there right away. I don't want to waste your time. We're taking real life time away from family obligations, school, work, other responsibilities. Let's make it worth it. You have an amazing painted army or lance. I have mine painted. We have some great terrain. We've got some theme music. We've got an awesome mission. Yes, I want to win, but my goal is to make sure that something amazing, something interesting happens on the table, something memorable in each and every game. So by taking units that are not optimal, what we see in every war game, and Battletech is kind of in a unique place in that the game was built up around the narrative as opposed to making rules and then fitting in the narrative. So what you see is there's a big disparity in mechs where some are really good, some are really well optimized, others reflecting the narrative, jack of all trades, master of none. A lot of them have weird design quirks, and some of them are so specialized, like the Vulcan or the Firestarter. If you bring them anywhere else out of that own little narrow area, then they're really going to have a hard time struggling. So if you approach a war game from a WAC, a WAAC, win at all cost, you're going to go into Math Hammer, and you're going to use that to power your theory. You're going to look at the rules, you're going to look at the stats. Those that are optimal, you're going to take. Those that are not optimal, you're going to discard. And this worked for Warhammer 40,000. This certainly works for games that are very, very rock, paper, scissor heavy, like X-Wing Miniatures, where it's just a constant churning meta, and you either bring the best in the moment or you kind of don't bother playing at all on there. But with Battletech, there's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of chance to bring stuff that if you analyze, you'd say, well, I would never take a Scorpion tank. Its battle value is low, but it's really weak. The gun is nothing, and I can easily, plus it has all the flaws of a vehicle with motive hits and things like that, chance for criticals just blowing up. I would rather take a mech. But if you look at the narrative, we have these various worlds that need arms. There's an opportunity, so who cares? It's like Ed 209. Who cares if the Quick Sell Corporation, right? Who cares if it works? We'll sell it cheap. We'll sell it at almost a loss, but it'll have so many defects, we'll sell spare parts for the next 100 years and all retire to our private moon, right? That's in the narrative, and a lot of units in Battletech reflect that. When I bring a lot of mechs, naturally I have mechs that are my favorite, mechs that I like to play. Some of them are really good, solid mechs, like the Awesome. Others, okay, like the Urban Mech, it's kind of for the lulls. And then there's mechs that kind of intrigue me, like the Locust. It's not necessarily a bad mech, but certainly there are, even with the better variants that I believe, right now I'm primarily playing the 2-something, 2H, 2L, 2-something, where it has the 2 SRM packs and the medium laser. It's got a little bit of a sting on there, but it's still a Locust. Ideally, there are better mechs that you could take if you're just going off the stats. But in this experimentation, in this playing around, it creates a lot of unique opportunities. And I also feel like, especially if you're playing End of the Star League, early Succession Wars, the Inner Sphere, you don't really always have a choice of mechs. I mean, these are truly knights, and you know, if you've inherited a Mackie, I play a Mackie mech, and the reason why I play it is because that mech warrior, that's what he's inherited. That's part of the campaign where it started. That's what he has. Would you rather be piloting a Mackie or be part of the Dispossessed? So on that tabletop narrative, you don't always have the best that's in there. And that's what I try to reflect in my podcast and in my vlogs and over on the mech tactics on my blog, where we look at every single mech. Yes, from a war game perspective, we can break it down and immediately disqualify probably 60% of the mechs in Battletech. But if we go into the narrative, if we challenge ourselves to play that, the question I ask is, how do we make this mech work? We look at the things it does well, and it might only be one thing. Might just be battle values, really cheap. How can we leverage that? How can we use that to our advantage against our opponent? And the disadvantages of the mech, are there other pieces in our lance that can make up for it, that can complement it, solve that problem, you know, unit cross-pollination and all that? And barring that, if the mech is really just that awful, how, based on my other units, my infantry, my tanks, my air support, my other mechs, how can I keep you so busy as an opponent? These are kind of like the three questions I ask of every unit. How can I keep you so busy as an opponent that you realize that mech has a lot of flaws? You're just going to run up and exploit it, but you're so busy chasing after everything else, you can't exploit my weakness. So that's what I try to explore. We look at some good mechs. We look at some not so good mechs. We look at some interesting and challenging mechs with this idea that if I give you 4 or 5 mechs, a lance, I give you some support vehicles, I give you some infantry, and I give you that objective, no excuses, you will take that objective.